Today is March 29th, 2026, and welcome to the 481st episode of the Videogames podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I am the one-man host of the show. I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10 and offers full accessibility information on every review that we publish. Hello! How's it going, folks? Hope your week has been less busy and less eventful than mine. This is going to be kind of a weird show. No guests this week. No Jeremiah, no Carlos, no anyone else. I decided to kind of just keep it a one-man operation this week because I've been actually quite busy with real life. Not going to bore you with all the details, but like lots of work stuff, lots of personal stuff. I think probably the biggest thing that's eaten up a lot of my time this week is that my son turns 17 pretty soon, like in May, and he has definitely been itching for more, well, let's just say independence. And we are itching to give it to him. You know, sometimes if you're a parent yourself, I'm sure you probably can relate to this. And if you're not a parent, I guess just file this away for later. But, you know, there comes a time when your kids get older and like the best thing you can do for them is just give them some fucking space. And so that's what we're trying to do. I think he's kind of to that point in his life where he's heard all he wants to hear from mom and dad and he wants to go out and explore things on his own. And we basically support that. So, we ended up getting kind of like a little camper trailer kind of a thing. It's pretty small, but we can park it in our driveway, and he is going to be moving out there. In fact, he's in the process of moving right now. So he's leaving his room in the house. He is making the great journey of about 30 feet to the driveway, and then he's setting up camp over there, bachelor pad on wheels, and that's just fine with me. That's just fine with his mom. So it's funny because when he brought his first load of stuff out to the trailer, he's like, "Oh, you guys are just going to keep my room how it is?" And we're like, "Fuck no. What are you kidding? It's mom's craft room now. She's going to do puzzles in there. She's going to do her nails, all sorts of stuff. That's mom's room now. Fuck off." He seemed a little surprised that we weren't going to keep it as a shrine to him. But we need the room, man. We're in a pretty small house, and he's got his own place now, so we're going to take that over. So the wife and I have been doing a lot of cleanup. He's been doing a lot of moving stuff out to the trailer and realizing he can't fit a fraction of what he's got shoved in his trash bin of a room. So he's getting that cleaned up. And then we took him out yesterday to shop and get him like some plates and some dishes and dish soap so that he'll do his dishes, and regular soap so he'll take a shower, and all the kind of things that you do with a teenager or young person when you are moving them out to their own first big step away from mom and dad. So that's taken up quite a bit of time this week, which is fine. It's an important step. It's a good step, healthy step for everybody. So one step closer to independence. And I guess the wife and I are now kind of quasi empty nesters where he's not living in the house anymore, but he's just 30 feet away in the driveway. So not in the house, but not exactly out on his own. So I guess that's like half empty nest. I don't know what you want to call that, but something like that. So that's been taking up a lot of time. With all that in mind, I figured let's just keep it small this week. It's going to be a little bit rambly. And also, just as a heads up, peek behind the curtain, I'm going to be recording the show a little bit differently. I usually do it all in one whack, or with a guest, we just like go for it, But this particular show, I'm actually juggling a bunch of things today. So I'll be doing like one segment before I do laundry, and then I'll do some laundry, then I'll come back and I'll do another segment, then I'll have lunch with the wife, then I'll come back and do another segment. So I'm hoping it's going to be pretty seamless, and if it does, I've just given away the whole premise here. I've released the cat from the bag, but hopefully it'll sound fine, and if it doesn't sound fine, sounds weird, and my voice is higher or lower, or I sound more tired or something, that's probably what it is. I'll be recording the show over the course of basically like an entire day, which is not the norm, so bear with me. I definitely want to get something out to the listeners, to you, and we just make do with what time we have. So there we go. Okay. On with the show. No housekeeping this week. I know stuff happened. In fact, I feel like there was a story that I wanted to talk about, but boy, I cannot remember what it is right now, and I didn't write it down. So fuck me. Moving on. Now we're going to skip that. YouTube.com. /at GameCritics.com videos. I know Eugene Sachs, who is our main video guy, has put up a couple things up there. He's got a lot in the pipe. He's a very prolific video creator, so please go support Eugene. And all of the trailers we posted, every single trailer we posted is something that one of us on the team thinks is cool. It's not just a big, spewing outlet for PR. These are all trailers that we really think are worth your time and attention. What else? Also, heads up on the Patreon, supporting the show. All costs of this show, so Video Games and sister site GameCritics.com, are paid for out of my pocket. And if you love the show, you love the site, I would invite you to chip in and help me keep it all running. If everybody listening or reading would chip in just $1 a month, just one, and I know you're not. I know some of you are, but I know not every listener is. But if you did, I'd love you for it, and every expense would be covered. If you can afford it, I would appreciate it. All right, let's just get down to it, folks. Starting off with circle backs, where I circle back to things I have covered in depth on previous episodes. Not going to get into all the details now. And if you want more details, you can just look at our history of the show, previous episodes. You'll find more information there. But this is just a quick update, let you know if my thoughts have changed on something for better or for worse after spending more time on it. Which is kind of ironic because I actually haven't spent any more time on this game. But just a quick update on Sumerian 6 from developer Artificer, I think that's how you pronounce her name. This is kind of like the me style, real-time-ish team tactics, vaguely XCOM-like game set in the days of World War II, where you play a ragtag group of freedom fighters and you're taking down the Nazi regime, actual Nazis, Hitler, swastikas, Germans, all that stuff. You have supernatural powers, and Hitler is researching supernatural stuff as well. And so you're using fire to fight fire, basically. I love this game. I love the real-time blend of tactics. These guys at Artificer are following the me playbook, like beat for beat. And I always say, if you're going to steal from the best. And since me is no longer a studio, I am very glad that there's somebody out there carrying on with their work, carrying that torch forward. These games are fucking dope. I love them, and I really need somebody else to keep making them. And it seems like Artificer is doing a bang-up job. Except for the fact that I'm playing Sumerian 6 on PS5 right now, and it's buggy, man. It's buggy, and it bums me to say that. Because, listen, real talk, when this game gets fixed, and I'm sure it'll be fixed, I've been in communication with PR, and PR's been talking to the devs. We've been talking about the bugs I've been hitting. I know they're working really hard to squash them. When this game is fixed on PS5, and it's probably fixed on PC, but when it's fixed on PS5, this is going to be in my top 10. Like, it's going to be like a top 10 best of the year. Guaranteed. It's like a lock. I love these kind of games. I think this one is really done well. It's exactly what it needs to be, and in fact makes some good improvements that me didn't do. And that's great. I love it. This is great stuff. I love these things. This is a great one. I love it. Yes, love all the way around. It's just buggy that I can't play right now. And I've said this before, but there's one character who's got a pretty powerful ability. You can plant a little plastic explosive on armored guys to get them out of your way. And it's pretty vital. I mean, do you need it to complete the game? Debatable. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It's hard to say. But the game is a lot more playable with the bomb. I would rather have it. It's supposed to be there. That character is designed to use it. It's a part of the game's vision. So I would like to use the bomb. And I'm at a part right now where I need the bomb in order to get past this one section. Well, okay. Maybe I don't need it. Maybe I can get past it. But I would very much like to use the bomb in the way it is intended, because I think it would be great to do this one thing that I want to do. No spoilers. And so I've been in touch with the devs. They thought they fixed it. They didn't fix it. So I'm a little bit of a sad face right now. I was hoping to play more of it this afternoon because I thought it was fixed, and it's just not. So the only circle back right now is that it's still busted on PS5. So don't buy it yet. Maybe check it out on PC. Maybe check it out on Xbox. I don't know. But with that said, not being a hater here, I'm just reporting facts. It's just busted right now. But when it's fixed, it's going to be one of my top 10 of the year. Like, guaranteed. Guaranteed. It's a lock. I promise you. It'll be in my top 10. It's not going to be, probably not going to be number one, but it will be in my top 10. And that puts it way ahead of a lot of other games this year. So just asterisk on Sumerian 6 on PS5 anyway. Pretty busted at the moment. And I will report back when it is fixed, because, man, I want to play some more of that. It's really fun. I've been really enjoying it a lot. So there we go. Okay. Let's move on to the new stuff. I've got a random grab bag of things today. And honestly, it's pretty good that I don't have a guest here. Well, is it good or is it bad? I don't know. Because most of these are bummers, just spoiler. And if you're like one of the listeners who just doesn't like a bummer show, maybe bounce. Because I don't have a whole lot of good stuff to say about the various games I played today. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games to talk about. They're not all like mega bummers, but I think most of them are bummers. So if you like the cheerleading and the smiles and the sunshine and you don't want to listen to a show where I'm just kind of like bagging on games, maybe this is not your episode. Maybe come back next episode. But I do have a lot of stuff to say, and in these shows, I think it's maybe okay that a guest isn't here. I can kind of just burn through these and give the game developers and publishers their promised coverage, and I don't have to bring anybody else down with me. So anyway, okay, let's get to it. First game is actually not a bummer. This is actually a good one. Collector's Cove. This is a small, I'm assuming, indie type game where you play a person of indeterminate gender. I think you can go to the character creator and swing them either way, or just stay perfectly in the middle, wherever you want your character to be. It's very cute, cartoony looking. This is a polygon game. It is not a pixel game. It is a polygon game. You can adjust the camera, rotate the camera around. Basically, you are a child of, I don't know, collectors, explorers, collectors, electors, collectorers. That doesn't work. So basically, your mom and dad are not in the picture. They've gone ahead of you, and they've left. I don't want to say they left you behind. That sounds kind of negative, but you're just not with your mom and dad, and you're with your uncle, and he's like, "Yo, let's continue on the family legacy of collecting stuff." So you're on a boat. And then you have, the boat is being, I don't know if it's being pulled by or if the boat is on the back of a sea monster. Maybe it's on the back of the sea monster. But like at the very front of the boat, there's a sea monster who's very friendly looking, not scary at all. Big smiley face. You can adjust their colors as well. You get to name them. And then they're your friend. You feed them fish and they pilot your boat around for you. And then you get to go from island to island. There's a little map of the ocean and you can pick whatever island you want to go to. And then you tell your sea monster to go there, and they swim there, and it takes a while. And while you're swimming, time passes. You can go inside your cabin, and you can do up your cabin like Animal Crossing style. You can find blueprints and collect stuff and decorate your cabin. The deck of your boat is basically like a giant open space with a whole bunch of squares, and so you can plant fruit trees and flowers and crops and like whatever. I think I have corn and sweet potatoes and cucumbers growing on my deck right now. So you build planters, you have like lots of little amenities, you get a smelter and stuff like that. So you have like a lot of crafting stuff, a lot of farming stuff. And then you just kind of do that stuff while your sea dragon is pulling your boat along. You can also fish while you're en route. You also have a grapple gun with like a plunger on the end of it, and you can grab any items that are floating by for extra resources. Like you see a box in the ocean, you jump on your gun, shoot it, reel it back in. You get some extra resources. You finally get where you're going, and then you need to feed your animal some more because he gets tired. And then you get to an island, and then these islands are resources bastions for you to go to and collect stuff. In the game, they want you to collect like 4 different things. It's like trees, fish, minerals, and one other thing, which is escaping my mind right now. I don't remember. But there's like basically 4 categories. And then you got to just like collect stuff. And they even say this at the front of the game, which I kind of appreciated. They're like, hey man, don't feel bad about clear cutting all these islands and raping the land of all its minerals and resources, because this island will disappear when we're done and the ocean will bring up a new island. It's like a replenishable resource. Don't worry about like, killing the earth or anything. Like it's all good. Like this is the way the system is supposed to be working. So I appreciated that. I get that this is a video game. No actual trees are being harmed in the making of this game or of the playing of this game. But I appreciate that they thought that, yeah, we need to quit the colonizing bullshit. We need to stop raping the earth. So let's do something a little different. And they clearly thought that and recognized it and said, no, it's all good. This is a fantasy world. These islands just kind of pop up and they got stuff on them and then they disappear. And I don't know. This is the world's way of giving you plenty, I guess, or whatever. So anyway, just a nice little asterisk. I appreciated that. So you go to a new island, collect whatever's there, wood, rocks. You can fish for various fish. There's a day-night cycle, and the fish will change based on the day-night cycle. Just like whatever. You collect a bunch of stuff, crops, flowers, plants, whatever. And then you bring them back to your ship. And every time you collect enough stuff, you go up a collector rank, which will unlock new blueprints like, you know, better fishing bait or a better fishing pole or a more powerful pickaxe to get the crystals that you couldn't get last time or something like that. So that's basically what I've seen so far. Early days. I just started it this morning. This was like the very last addition to the show. But it seems great. It seems kind of like a little bit like Animal Crossing on water. I really like the idea of having this little boat. And like all you really have to deal with is the bow of your ship, which is not huge, which I appreciate. And plus your room, which you can decorate, which is fun. And you go on the sea. You just like drive around and see what's there. You feed your sea monster. You drive around a little bit more. You shoot a couple boxes in the ocean, bring them in. You do some fishing. Every once in a while, you can ring a bell, and then your uncle will bring his 2 other brothers with him. So you're 3 uncles. And then they park next to your boat. You can trade with them. They give you blueprints and different resources you might need. They give you some hints. They do talk about secrets in the game. I haven't really gotten far enough to see any secrets, but they talk about like maybe for every animal out there, there's like I forget what they call it, like the pinnacle animal or the mythical animal or something. So like, let's say you're fishing, you catch a bluegill. That's one of the first fish you get. You fish, you catch a bluegill, but there's also like the apex bluegill. But you can't just catch it randomly. Like you've got to like get the perfect bait, and it's got to be the perfect time and the perfect. So there's bits that go into it. There's like some lore that you can figure out, and they'll tell you where to get the apex fish. I don't know that you need to do that, but I think it's just there like if you want to do that. But so far it's pretty chill, pretty relaxing. I think the graphics are real cute. I like the idea of having this little boat tooling around, collecting stuff. It just seems very just chillaxed and just like low stakes. I don't think there's any combat at all. I don't think there's a fail state. I think you just kind of do your thing, but there is a story you're working towards. You eventually want to reunite with your mom and dad, but you can only do that by increasing your collector rank a certain amount. So like once you get your, I don't know, your scout's badge earned, then you can finally go to whatever the retirement island where your mom and dad are and go chill with them or whatever. So early days, but I like Collector's Cove so far. It seems cool. It's very cute looking, very chill and cozy, relaxed, good vibes. The wife was walking by and she's like, "Ooh, what's that?" And whenever the wife does that, then you know it's got some juice to it. So she was interested. If the wife is interested, then if you like these cozy games, you might want to check this one out. So definitely a thumbs up so far. Liking it, liking what I've seen. Early days, but I like what I've seen. This is Collector's Cove, playing it on PS5. Next up, Trash Goblin. This game got lots of eyeballs, got lots of attention when it debuted on PC. It is now on consoles. I'm playing it on PS5. I believe it's on all the consoles. This is a weird one. This is also another cozy one. Not quite as successful as Collector's Cove, though. In this game, you are a goblin, although you don't really ever see yourself. It's first person. You are in a very small room that is, I guess, underneath some building or something. It's like a weird little nook hideaway space that is underneath a tavern, or it's underneath some kind of building. So the street outside, you got like one window in your place is like slanted, so you see people coming by on the street, and then on one side of you, it's like a room with 4 sides. One side is a window to the street, one side is your bed, one side is the area where you do your work, and you have one more side. I forget what the other side is, and one other side, I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. So what you do basically is you get a quick intro, and then you're just a goblin that lives in this little, very small independent business, this little micro storefront. So people come up to your window and be like, "Yo, I need to get a thing. I need to get a horn, a ladle, a broken ladle. I need to get a pot. I need to get a knife blade or something." They'll say something that they want, and then you go and see if you have it. Now, this is the weird part, because you are kind of like doing this on your own. You get these big sacks of stuff, literally a sack. You open the sack, and it's like a bunch of blocks that are mushed together, and you can't really tell what it is. You get one big mass of blocks per sack, and the sacks keep coming whenever you need one. There's infinite sacks. You just get a sack anytime you want one. And apparently it's like random what you get. So like you open up a sack, you get this big mass of blocks, and then you chip away at them with a chipping tool. Some blocks take 1 hit, some blocks take a couple hits, some blocks can only be broken on one side. And I know that I'm making it sound kind of puzzly, and it's not really. You can take as long as you want. There's no time pressure. There's no fail state. You just get the blocks off of the thing. When you get it whittled down to the absolute core, then you get your item. So maybe that's the knife blade you want, or maybe that's the pot handle you want, or maybe that's the trash lid you want, or whatever. You get it, It's always dirty, so then you have to go to another tool. It's a sponge. Again, this is first person. You get a sponge and you start washing the thing down. It's covered with grime. And then kind of like Power Wash Simulator or whatever, you just kind of like scrub it until you get it clean. It becomes clean. And then if you have the thing that the person wants, you give it to them. That's it. That's the game. There is, as far as I know, no overarching story. There are no real goals to work towards, I don't think. There's no fail state. There's, I don't know, you're just doing a thing. You're just doing this thing. That seems like all it is. And the weird thing is, like, people will come up sometimes and they'll be like, oh, I want this thing, and you might not have it. You can dismiss them and say, hey, come back later when I have it. Or you can just say, wait here. And they will wait there, like, apparently infinitely, just waiting for you to get done. So you can, like, do other things, you know, clean up another couple items, take a nap, come back the next day. They're still there just waiting. So there's no time pressure. There's no anything. Like, you just do the thing. You just, like, chip away the items when you open them from the sack. You get the item, you wash it, and then you sell it to whoever needs it. And that's it. As far as I know, that's it. There's a time clock. You can only do like 6 actions per day. You can open 6 bags. You can clean 6 things, or any combination thereof. And after 6 items, you got to go to bed. I'm not sure why, because nothing happens. You don't run out of time. There's no deadline. You don't miss anything. It's like a totally friction-free experience. And along with that, it's also like challenge-free, objective-free, and kind of goal-free. I played it for a while and I'm just like, is this it? Like, it kind of feels weird. Like, I mean, I'm all over cozy. Like, you just heard me talk about Collector's Cove, and I believe I will probably talk about one more thing, but it's just like, that's it. Like, there's no real it feels like the story mode is like missing, or it feels like the goals are missing. Like, am I saving money for something? Am I trying to buy my own freedom? Am I helping a sick relative? Am I trying to get a better shop? Like, what am I doing? It just doesn't seem like there's a lot here. And to be perfectly honest with you, I do not like the chipping away. I tried it once. I'm like, okay, cool. But then after that, I just didn't want to do it anymore. Like, it's just not that fun. It's kind of irritating. Doesn't feel great on a controller. I don't think it would feel good on a mouse either. Just to be clear, I don't think that, like, this would feel good on a mouse, or this game is supposed to be on PC. I think it works just fine on PlayStation. I just don't think it feels very good to do that. I especially hate the washing. I wish they had implemented touch controls, like using the PlayStation touchpad. That would feel better, I think, or at least have the option. But I do not like washing because it feels very persnickety and takes more effort than I want to put out. And then you just, oh god, there's also this other tool that lets you, I think they call it an upscaler, where you can take broken items and put them back together, and it is janky as fuck. It's so janky to use it. Like, it's really irritating to use it. That might feel better on a mouse. It might not. It might just be janky. So you just have those things. And I mean, to be fair, I didn't get that far, but I was like, dude, like, what is, okay. I get the gist of the game. It took me like maybe like 10 minutes to figure out what this game was doing. And then it was just repetition. I didn't get any breadcrumbs to something else. I didn't feel like there was a goal that I was going to be shooting for. It just feels like it's just this little experience where if you just want to be a goblin who just does this thing for X amount of hours, then I guess you do it. So I don't know, man. It just didn't feel compelling. It didn't really grab me. It just needed some characterization or a story or jokes or a goal or you know, a little bit of danger. I'm not saying Dark Souls or some shit, but just like a little bit of something, you know, maybe you fail an objective. Maybe a customer leaves angry, or maybe you need to make money to pay rent or something. I don't know. I'm not a game developer, but what I do know is this game just felt very boring and toothless, and it didn't feel quite ready for prime time. So I guess if you want something super safe and that will never bite you ever, and you just want to do a thing a couple times, then this is the game for that. But it just feels weirdly unfocused and weirdly like without a point. It feels, I don't know, just missing that special sauce for me. So that is Trash Goblin, playing it on PS5. I think I bounced after like an hour or so. It just was like, just didn't grab me. So there you go. Trash Goblin. Okay, up next we have Thomas and Friends, Wonders of Sodor. And no, you are not mishearing me. Yes, this is a game based on Thomas the Tank Engine, which I'm sure most of you probably know who that is, even though it's not quite as popular as it used to be. But boy, Thomas was a real banger back in the day. And this is not an ironic choice or anything like that. I genuinely wanted to check this out. As a parent myself, my youngest is now going to be 17 this year. So they are not so into Thomas anymore. But boy, they were into Thomas like crazy back in the day. We bought a bunch of the trains, had the tracks all over the floor, watched the show, all that stuff. And so I've got lots of fond memories of Thomas from when my youngest was a little kid, and even my older one liked Thomas quite a bit as well. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. You know, I'm very familiar with Thomas. I would love to see what they're doing with this property these days. And I requested a code, got a code. Thank you very much to the PR person for sending it, and was kind of excited to just jump in and just, I don't know. I mean, I guess I wasn't sure what to expect. I figured I would just drive the trains around and, you know, you'd see their little faces on the engines and do a little toot toot and that kind of thing, and it would just be like a good time. And that's kind of sort of what it is, but actually not really at all. So basically, you start the game by doing a character creator, which is a very, very sad and very limited character creator. All of the people look like men, even though I'm pretty sure a couple of them are supposed to be presenting as women. It's just very awkward. Very few choices. It's just bad, I guess. Just very, very undercooked. Not much to do there. So I threw together somebody and jumped in, and then I was surprised to find that the game starts off in first person. And I was like not expecting that at all. They take you through this really long tutorial about how you, a human being, must operate the engines on the island, which was surprising. So you walk around in first person, you got to climb up the ladder, go inside the cab of one of the engines. I think you start off with Thomas, I'm pretty sure. And then you like got to stand in a certain place and you flip a couple switches and they teach you how to drive the engines. And I will say right off the bat, every single aspect of the controls feels very confused and crazy and nonsensical. I don't know why the developers chose the control scheme that they did, but just all of it just feels like, what are you guys even doing? Do you guys even play a video game? It feels like you don't. The controls were like, you had to flip a couple, like you can press R2, I'm playing on this on PlayStation, to go forward, but then you had to hit L1 to go into a shifter and shift the engine back into reverse rather than just hitting L2 to go in reverse. It feels like they're kind of going for authenticity, but also this is a game about trains that are like alive, and it's also intended for kids, so I'm not really sure that authenticity was really needed here. And there's also, the camera is whack. The camera is so whack on this fucking game. You, instead of just pushing a button or clicking the stick or anything like that, you have to hold like, it's like L1 or no, it's like you hold one of the sticks. It's like you click R3 and hold it, and then you hit like left on the D-pad or something like that, like in combination, in order to cycle through like the 5 different viewpoints, which is already mental as it is. Like that's crazy that you're going to do that. But beyond that, none of the viewpoints are good. It's weird that you're kind of like, you're either inside the train, which is like impossible to see out of. I really was desperate to like lean my head out the window, but I couldn't figure out how. I'm not even sure that you can. So you're looking through this tiny little window outside of the Thomas cab, which shows you like nothing. It's really hard to see, really hard to gauge distance. I have no idea how anybody on Earth ever drove a train successfully. Like there must be a trick to it. I think they probably just stuck their fucking head out the window. But there's also like these floating cameras, which are kind of like high up, and you got to like fiddle with them a bunch. They're like flying around, and sometimes they hover next to the train, sometimes they don't. And you just like everything about the controls and the camera, especially the camera, is like, what is going on? Why are you? What is being so weird about this? Why is there not just like a traditional third person? I mean, a million driving games have got this sorted out, right? Like this is not reinventing the wheel in any way. And I feel like the developers, again, just have never played a video game before. Like they just are kind of like reinventing the wheel for some reason. So I was struggling with that. Could never find a good camera viewpoint that just worked for me and that was easy. But I'm like, okay, whatever. You start the game and like initially, after you get done with the tutorial, which is pretty long, you get through the tutorial and you start your first mission. And then you go to a cutscene. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like Thomas is a show. I want to see some train action here. I want to see my old friends, you know, all these old trains that I know. And so you get in there, you start watching a little cutscene, which is fine. It's kind of like reminiscent of the episodes. And then you go on your first mission. And the first mission is you need to get a couple of passenger cars for Gordon, who is like the larger version of Thomas, and he's a dick. And sometimes Thomas is a dick too. I think if you haven't seen Thomas the Tank Engine, you'd be surprised at how often the trains are dicks to each other. But so you got to go and like do this like really like simulator shit. Like instead of just like being Thomas and like toot toot, you go grab a couple cars and bring it over to Gordon. It's like you're on this track. The tracks are laid out, and then you have to like roll forward a bunch, and then you do the track switcher, and then you roll back to the track switcher, and you go further back, and you get on a different track switcher, and then you go forward again, and then you find the trucks and the passenger cars, and you attach to them, and then you roll back, and you go on this other train switcher, and you get on this other thing, and then you go forward, and then you get on this other track, and then you bring it to fucking Gordon. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is so this is so fucking tedious and boring. I can't believe any child who, I mean, there's got to be the audience for this, right? Like, it's not me, the dad who used to buy Thomas stuff, because this is just like not, this is just not for me. I don't think it's for really any grown up. I don't feel like. I could be wrong. I definitely don't think it's for kids, because like no kid would get through this. And I even said the worst part is this is a very exacting mission. So like if you'll see these glowing spots on the track where you're supposed to stop your train, and it's kind of hard to tell sometimes where they're at, especially if you're like locked into the wrong viewpoint. If you go more than like 5 feet past this spot, which is very easy to do, mission over. Start all the way back to the very beginning. And I'm like, what? That's insane. There's no way a kid would put up with this shit. I don't want to put up with this shit. Like, there's no way a kid's going to be so exact and would like redo the entire mission because you went 3 feet past the fucking line of demarcation, which is really hard to see, and go back to square one and do the whole mission over after doing all this like shunting and rail switching and back and forth. I'm like, what? This is crazy. I mean, what you should be doing is you miss your mark because you're a kid, or because you're a grown up who can't fucking see the mark because it's hard to see. And so like a little window should pop up with Thomas's face, and he should go, toot toot, you're causing confusion and delay. You should go back a couple feet and get back on your mark. And I'd be like, okay, shit, sorry, Thomas. And I would just do that. Starting the whole mission over? Are you nuts? Like, what is going on? It is crazy. So it feels like this game is caught in this bizarre no man's land between the subject material, which I have to imagine is meant to appeal to kids, or I guess hardcore Thomas fans who are still with it after all these years. Nothing wrong with that. Or sim fans. Like, it almost feels like train sim or something where you are a train person and all you care about is trains, and you memorize the schedules and you know the numbers of cars, and you want like the real, it feels like it's caught between, it looks like a kid's game, but it feels like a sim game, and it just doesn't work. None of this works for me. I was very surprised and very put off by like everything about this game, which is just bizarre. There's other stuff to it as well. There's like a kind of a quasi open world mode where you pick a station, you spawn in a train, which is weird, and then you just kind of drive around, but also there's weird persnickety aspect. I mean, everything about this game is persnickety. It just feels very unkid friendly, unaccessible, awkward. Controls are awkward. I just don't understand at all how this game came into existence. I am very, very confused by this. Had a miserable time. I don't imagine anybody having a good time with this. I think it's too kiddie looking for the sim fans. It's too simmy for the kids. It doesn't really channel the Thomas energy very well. I mean, it looks like Thomas Tank Engine, but it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't play like an episode. It's not fun like an episode. I honestly have no idea what is going on with this game. I feel like the developers had no idea what they were doing. I don't feel like they've ever played a video game before. I feel like they were just like way off the mark on this one. So I bounced pretty quickly. I don't imagine anybody would have a good time with this game. If you're going to maybe potentially buy this for a Thomas fan, don't. Get them a t-shirt instead. Get them another train. Get them some wooden tracks. Get them literally anything else other than this game. I feel like this game is a colossal failure. So Thomas and Friends, Wonders of Sodor. I just wonder how this game got fucking made is what I wonder. Yikes. All right, next up is Devil Jam. This is a survivors-like, and I really like that genre. I like those games. If you're not familiar, it's where you have a character who basically runs around and they auto-attack. They'll send attacks out to the nearest enemy, and you collect experience points and level up a variety of powers. And eventually, by the end of the level, you want to be really strong and like auto-attacking everything and surviving. So this kicked off, in my view anyway, it really kicked off with Vampire Survivors. Still fun, still great, and a lot of other entries in the genre have come down the pike since then. Some are pretty cool, some are not so cool. Devil Jam is the newest and the latest. This one is about, basically, you are a band of people who, like literally a band, like musicians, who are dead. They end up in hell, and the devil's like something along the lines of like, you weren't supposed to die so soon. I was going to collect your soul after you got popular. You're not popular enough now. I think death took you too quickly because he's trying to fuck with me. So I'm going to give you some powers, and then you go back and kill death, and then go get famous, and then I'll take your soul after you've sold like 1 million gold records or whatever. So that's kind of the opening premise. This game really has taken a lot of notes from Hades, is what I mean to say. Taken a lot of notes from Hades, where you start off like in this hub. You've got your character walking around. There are some desks, like, shopkeepers and stuff like that. It feels very much like you're in the Hades type lobby. The devil is there, and you can speak to him, so he's kind of like speaking to Hades again. And like, if you've played Hades, which is not at all a Survivor's like, but like this lobby feels very much like the Hades hub / lobby kind of thing. I think that's definitely what they're going for in terms of vibe. Not as much dialogue, not as much charm, not as much detail, but I think it's pretty unquestionable to me that's what they were kind of cribbing from. So you pick your character. You don't have a choice at first. You're just like the guitar guy, and you go out into the world, and it's just really open and kind of featureless. There are a couple like breakable boxes, a few little things you can kind of sort of interact with. Like you'll see a radio tower. To click X on it, you get like a boost for a few seconds or something. But like beyond that, nothing really there, like in any direction. It doesn't seem like there's a limit to where you can go. It doesn't really seem like there's anything really cool to find, or there's no features or landscape or anything like that, which feels pretty bland and pretty boring. But the enemies, as per usual, start coming at you in waves. This is top-down viewpoint. Your guy has these animations where he's kind of like running around and playing his guitar. I gotta be honest, folks, I do not actually care for the art style or the animation. I think the animation is kind of distracting, and it doesn't look very cool. And just in general, some of the character portraits are pretty okay, but like in general, I don't like the design of the monsters, and I don't just like the way it looks. It just doesn't look that interesting, not that compelling. So you just like, you're jamming on your guitar, and I think your basic attack is just like it shoots out a power beam. You get a couple of powers as you go. Like as you imagine, you kill some enemies, you get some experience, you get the choice between 3 powers, and then you give yourself some of those abilities. They're all pretty dull. They're all pretty forgettable. The big twist on the formula here is that when you get a power, you have to assign it to what looks like a little piece of sheet music on the bottom of the screen. So like there's little sections, I guess, timing, beats, whatever. I'm not a musician, so I don't know the proper terminology for these things. I apologize. But like, measures maybe, whatever it is. It's broken up into 4 graph, like 4x4 or something like that. And so when you get a power, you place it into one of the blocks in the 4x4 grid. And then as the beat goes, you'll see like the little tempo meter beat thing going. As every time it hits one of those squares, it'll trigger off that power. I'm not really sure what the significance of that is, really, as opposed to simply just having a regular power like a Survivor's like. But I think they're trying to just incorporate the musical theme. The only thing I really can think of that matters about this music chart thing is that some powers will come with modifiers. So let's say that you get some modifier that gives you like, plus 15 attack or something like that. But it's like in the shape of a Y. So when you get it, you put it into the music chart, you've got to be able to fit it in the shape of a Y in amongst your other power-ups. So I think maybe they're trying to go for like a slightly strategic puzzle-like thing here. I don't think it really works that well, though, because you don't really know what shapes you're going to get. And so you're kind of just putting something down. And if you were able to predict with regularity what you could get, I think you could plan for it. But I feel like it just is kind of random when you get one. You're like, whatever, just stick it in, who cares, and go on, because it's kind of a Survivor's like, and it's kind of like also like a roguelike, so you're not really specking towards anything. And it just, I get the idea, it just doesn't really pop for me, and I never felt like any of those abilities were really that strongly modified. I kind of just ended up not caring about it. So you run around, kill some dudes, you're eventually going to get overwhelmed. Or you'll get to a boss. There's some randomly assigned bosses. Like I saw the same 2 bosses over and over, but sometimes they came in different orders. And I'm sure that there are more as you go, with death being the ultimate boss. So you beat the bosses. I felt like the hitboxes were kind of wonky on the bosses. I felt like some of the attacks were not really super predictable in the way that they looked. I eventually got them, beat them all, and kept going. But like, I just didn't feel like it was as tuned or as polished as it needed to be. And then after you either beat the game or you get killed and overrun, you go back to the hub, you buy some currency, you unlock a few things, and then you go back to what you're doing, and it just nothing about it really stood out. Nothing about it really felt very interesting or polished. I mean, with this game, honestly, like, this game feels like it's an early access release. It feels like there's a lot of stuff left to go. The power's not interesting. Animations, I feel like, need some work. The way that the world feels kind of empty and unfinished. I don't feel like the bosses play that well. It just feels like this is like a really good starting place for someone who's got a year left of development to go. I feel like this is early access. It's not. Nothing about this, as far as I know, is early access. I've not gotten any, as far as I know, this is a 1.0. It just feels like it's kind of empty and like, it just doesn't have quite that spark and is just not really popping the way one of these should. Because when you get a good Survivors, like, man, they're impossible to put down. You play Vampire Survivors, you could fucking play that thing like all day. Like, you want to just do one more run. Or, I just did recently yet another Zombie Survivors. That was great. I loved it, man. Like, it was just like so good. Like, when all the elements come together and it feels great, and it's got to feel great, right? You've got to have the powers. The powers have to be interesting. They have to be impressive. You have to like get something and go, oh, cool. Look at that. I'm shooting fire out of my butt now. Or like, oh man, look, I just grew another head. Or, oh, look, this bomb blew up and like there's an airplane and it's shooting guys on the ground or something. It's got to be something. It can't just be like another random wave of energy comes out from you, or your energy beam does like 0.15 more damage or something. Like, it's pretty dull. And with Survivors likes, you want the flash, you want the bombast, you want the pomp, you want like the wow factor. And I don't feel like this game has any wow factor to it. But again, I could get there. It just feels like an early access release right now. And I really feel like in 6 months or a year, it's going to be a much better experience. I feel like there's probably going to be more content to it. Things are going to probably be refined. It's probably going to be a lot more interesting. It just doesn't have enough gas to really properly launch. And so I noped out of it pretty quickly. So I can see some potential here, but I would strongly encourage the developers to just keep going. Do the thing you're doing, but just keep going. Add more systems, add more pop, more pizzazz, enrich what you've got, make it more interesting, make it deeper. It just feels like it's still at the starting blocks, and a lot of the other Survivors likes are pretty far down the track. So I feel like this one's got some catching up to do. Not the biggest fan, but I feel like there is room for it to grow for sure. So I will keep an eye on it. And if they ever like do a major update, I'll be happy to come back to it. So that is Devil Jam, playing it on the PS5. All right. Last game of the show is Against the Storm. I'd actually never heard of this one, but apparently it got some pretty good buzz when it hit PC a while ago. And when friend of the show Jeremiah was on last time, 1 or 2 episodes ago, he mentioned this as something that I might want to check into. So I took his advice and checked into it. Just paid cash money for this one and played it on PS5. I believe this came up when we were talking about Frostpunk or something similar to that. And I guess Frostpunk just sucks because Frostpunk is amazing and every other game seems like it sucks when it compared to Frostpunk. So it just puts every other game to shame, and that's a really tough place to be because no other game is Frostpunk. Even Frostpunk 2 was not Frostpunk. Those developers, I want to say it was 11-Bit Studios, they just like fucking knocked it out of the park so hard on that game, which is great, and Frostpunk will always be one of my favorite games of all time. But man, it is a tough act to follow, and I think I'm just chasing that high still. So this was one that might have done it for me. Spoiler, absolutely did not. So Against the Storm, it struggles with storytelling. I don't think the storytelling is very good here, and I feel like that's something that I kind of care about in these games. If there's not really a story or narrative motivation, I don't really find this type of gameplay very compelling. And what kind of gameplay is it, you may ask? Well, no problem, I'll tell you. Basically, your character, I don't know, I guess you're just like God's Eye view mode or something, and you're looking down. It's kind of a city builder. And the premise of the game is that there's a kingdom that needs to protect itself against a coming storm. And so how you do this is by setting up little encampments out in the wild, and you're supposed to gather resources and send them back to base, and then they will have enough resources to weather the storm. And so there's constantly this like little time pressure of an incoming storm, and you've got to just like go and set up encampments and set up encampments. I did some reading into this before I bought it, and one of the interviews with the developers said that they liked city builders, but they don't like when you get to the part where you are established. They like the beginning part, which is where you're struggling to find resources, you're trying to get your things together, trying to build an encampment out of nothing, and then, you know, trying to get a foothold in a territory. They said that was the most exciting and interesting part for them. They did not like once you were established and you were kind of just like, you know, fiddling with settings and tweaking levers and kind of extending things or whatever. So I understand that. And I get that, and it makes sense to me. I get it. But at the same time, I don't think, for me personally anyway, doing that kind of activity is interesting enough in and of itself. And I'll tell you why. Because part of it is like, I just don't give a fuck about like economies in a game, about like crafting and supply lines and stuff. That's like the most boring fucking part of any game like this. And I may hear some people say, but Brad, Frostpunk had that stuff. Yeah, it sure fucking did. But it was pretty straightforward and minimal to mess with. And then once you got it established, most of the time it ran without too much attention. And there was also loads of other stuff to support the rest of the game. There was lots of story bits. You had a great narrative thrust. You had all sorts of events that would crop up. Cool style. I mean, there's lots of stuff supporting that. So even though Frostpunk did have some economic elements like that, like for example, setting up a coal mine and how much coal do you use? In general, I think that's fucking boring and I don't enjoy it. But Frostpunk got it really right, where it was compelling and it was interesting. And they took this stuff that I generally think is dry as dust and they made it really juicy. So, and Against the Storm, you, like in the very first level, which is like a tutorial level, you're just kind of chucked into the middle of a forest. It's like an island, but it's got a forest on it. And you have to set up these buildings and chop down some trees. You get like these people. You get beaver people, you get humans, and you get lizard people. And the game doesn't really tell you fuck all story about it. Like once you're past the opening cutscene, you don't know anything. You don't get introduced to any of your people. None of them are really characters. They don't really even explain what they're good at. Like you have to kind of just look at menus and read a lot of like in-game menu stuff to figure out, oh, the humans are supposed to be collectors and the beavers are supposed to be wood choppers and the lizard men are like, I guess, hunters or something, I guess. So they just don't really tell you anything. They don't really like get you off. You know, they don't even start off with like, hey, we're here in this particular forest and we're going to have to do these things. And here's our foreman, Sharptooth the Lizard Man. And he's here to tell you what's going on. Like they don't even get anything off the ground like that. They just throw you right into the mechanics of it. And the mechanics are dull. It needs all that other stuff with it. Like, a patty of hamburger is fine, but it's a lot better when you have a bun and cheese and onion and pickle and lettuce and ketchup and mustard and whatever else you want to put on it. Bacon. Don't forget the bacon. And I feel like, games like Frostpunk have that. That's what makes the experience so good. This feels like a hamburger patty. Like there just isn't a lot to it in terms of like the narrative and stuff. So you just start building stuff, it's like, oh, these guys got to collect some plants and these guys over here got to collect some wood and these guys over here kind of hang out, and they just don't explain anything. They explain like there's a hearth in the middle of your camp, and I don't really understand the relevance of it. They didn't really explain that. And the tutorial didn't really teach me a lot of stuff about what to do or what the importance is or like what the motivations are. And you're just like, okay, here's a guy. He's setting up to chop trees. The wood's going to go back and feed this thing, I guess. And they're going to, I don't know, do a thing. It just doesn't read very well. It doesn't explain itself very well. And it just feels like one of those like really eccentric PC games where like a PC crowd really gets into it because they are acclimated to that kind of experience. But being mostly a console person, I need the wrapping paper. I need the pizzazz. I need the lead in. I need the story. I need the narrative. I need all that kind of stuff because that's the kind of experience that I like. And this probably explains why I don't really spend a lot of time playing stuff like this on PC, among other reasons. So I got through that first level and it was just kind of dull. You just kind of just set up your supply line and chop some trees and get some grass and whatever. And eventually they give you these little objectives like get 5 wood in your log hut. Okay, cool. I mean, I did that, but it's not super exciting. You unlock more buildings that just let you do more stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. You just kind of proceed. Just proceed. Like after you meet a certain number of objectives, you go on to the next island, and it's just the same again. Like it's just like like you're starting from scratch. You leave your last encampment behind. You move on to the next one. You start from scratch. You got to set up your supply lines again. You got to set up your. I don't know. I guess like part of it too is like so. A good example is the housing. You have lizardmen, beavers, and humans. And then they're like, yeah, you can make these houses, and each house holds like 2 people. And I'm like, okay, number one, that seems like a tent, not really a house. And number two, I'm like, so what's the value of this? I don't understand what the value of this is. Why do I need a house? Like in real life, I know why you need a house, but in this game, I don't understand what is the bonus of having a house. What is the penalty of not having a house? I built a house, and I go, okay, cool. Here's a lizard man house. Nothing seemed to change. Here's a beaver house. I didn't notice anything different. I'm like, so what is even the point of the houses? I don't even understand what's going on. Like, what do I need to worry about these for? They must do something surely, but the game is really terrible at communicating that. And so I just like, I got tired of like trying to sift through menus to figure out what's what and deduce my own conclusions about all these stats and stuff. It just didn't have any of the, the wrapping, the spirit to it, the spark or the energy. It didn't feel like I was trying to save this town from this oncoming storm. It just felt like I was just doing a bunch of boring shit that I don't like in the type of game that I don't generally play. But I really, really enjoy these when they work. When I find one of these and it works, it's amazing. It's like, this is so fun. I love it. Frostpunk is one of my favorites. The Altars was another one that was good. There's been a few others over the years that take this kind of like city builder sort of a thing-ish and kind of do something with it. And they can be great when they pop. But man, this is just not great. Just so boring, so dry. I just was like, oh man, waste of $30, big time. I'm not going to say I felt salty because I'm glad I tried it, and I like when friends recommend games to me, and I'm always happy to check that out. But man, this one was like the biggest miss for me. Like it was just not connecting on any level. So I noped out after that, and I don't think I will ever come back to it. Against the Storm, played it on, one thing I will say, it works fine on controller. I know that these games are pretty PC mouse and keyboard centric, and I heard some people saying they couldn't imagine how it would ever work on a controller, and I think it actually works just fine. I will give credit where credit is due, and I had no problems with the control scheme. I thought it was all great. Use the D-pad, use the sticks, use the buttons. It was all fine. I was able to navigate, no problem. I have many problems with this game, but controlling it was not one of my problems. So I will give a big shout out to the developers for mapping to a controller smartly and making those good choices. So control was not an issue. That wasn't a problem whatsoever, but the rest of it was just not my thing. But anyway, shout out for a good control scheme. I always appreciate that. All right, folks, that is it. Game portion of the show is officially done, but like many humans, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right, folks. It is time for the TV and movie roundup. Man, I got a lot to talk about this week. I got too much to talk about this week. First, we finished the first season of Star Trek Starfleet Academy, and we loved it. I know this game, boy, I got games in the brain. We know this show has been under fire from, conservative dickheads and people who can't stand change and fanboys who don't like anything different and all that stuff. And it's already canceled. They canceled. There's going to be one more season, which they've already filmed. So apparently they're going to show season 2 next year in 2027, which is a long time to wait for that. Considering that we're just like in March right now. That's ridiculous. They could show the entire full season this year and still have time left over. But they canceled it already, so it's only going to be 2 seasons. There's been a fan protest saying that they want this show to continue. I think it should continue. I think it's got great diversity. It gives a different view of the Star Trek universe. I really like a lot of the characters. Not perfect by any means, but I was really enjoying it. The wife really enjoyed it, and I think a show like this deserves to continue. Unfortunately, the people who own Paramount right now are MAGA conservative assholes, and this is probably way too much diversity for their tiny pea brains to process. So that's probably a big reason why it's canceled. But we shall see. Also, quick side note, with the cancellation of Starfleet Academy, we are now in another rare period where there is officially no Star Trek property of any kind being worked on or produced at all. The historic IP, what is it, 60 years? 60 years of Star Trek so far. Many series over the years, many different projects, many different movies. But right now, there's officially fuck all going on in Star Trek. So I think there's plenty of room for somebody to come in, revive Starfleet Academy. Would love to see more of that. Or a brand new IP, anything like that. So I guess Star Trek fans are going to just have to hold their breath for a little while and see what happens. So best of luck there. And my condolences to all the people on the show who got canned. That was not cool. The show should have continued. Shout out to Deadlock on Amazon. This is the show about two lesbian detectives in Australia who are solving a crime and also just like being in Australia. That in itself is already entertaining enough as a show. I love Deadlock. The first season was my show of the year when it came out. Like the relationship between the two leads is just fantastic. It's really, really funny. Really great focus on character building and their relationship as friends and partners as in police officer work and stuff like that. Deadlock season 2, also really good. Not quite as strong as the first season. I mean, it's hard to follow such a powerful success as we just heard with Frostpunk. And Deadlock season 1 was just like mind-blowingly good. Like it was just crazy good. Deadlock season 2, still good, still worth watching. It gets a little bit soft in the middle. Maybe like I can't remember if it's episode 3 or episode 4 was kind of a dud where they kind of like seemed like they lost their footing. We're spending too much time on the minutia of the mystery when really what we're here for is seeing the two leads play off each other. But they regained their footing. There was only like one dud episode, the whole thing. The rest of it was good. They finished strong. Lots of laughs, lots of heart. Really like the way it finished. I don't know if that's the end of the series. It could be. They left it in a good place where you would feel good walking away from that and everybody got, the ending that they deserved. But I wouldn't mind watching more. I think these folks are super entertaining and I love them so much. So check out Deadlock season 2. I will also say, I'll do one more thing here because I'm running out of time. I think we're also watching Monarch Legacy of Monsters on Apple. This is tied into the Universal Monsterverse, which is like Godzilla, King Kong, and a couple other things. Now, so where do I stand on this? The first Godzilla, not the first, but like the first of the reboot, which came out several years ago, which had the guy from Breaking Bad in it. I forget what his name is, but that guy. That Godzilla, amazing movie. Great stuff. Loved it. King Kong Skull Island, which came after that, amazing film. Loved it. But all of the King Kong / Godzilla movies since then, I felt like have been kind of cheesy and stupid, and not in the good way, but like in a bad way. Have not enjoyed those. I don't like what they're doing with them. I don't think the writing is very good. I don't think they're entertaining. So I was going into Monarch Legacy of Monsters with some trepidation. And it turns out this is actually great. So I think this is a great addition to the Monsterverse. So I would count Monarch, the first King Kong, and the first Godzilla as like the movies and shows to watch. Those three things together are fantastic. But Monarch is basically about this scientific agency who is trying to deal with the existence of these giant titans, the King Kongs and Godzillas of the world. And so it goes back and forth in time from when it was founded back in the 50s when Godzilla first made his appearance, and then you jump back to the present day, which in this show is 2015 when Godzilla reappears. They go back and forth, and they do a really, really cool and interesting thing because when we're in the past, one of the scientists is played by Wyatt Russell, who has been in a couple of Marvel movies. He's done a few other things. But he is the son of Kurt Russell, famous 80s action sci-fi star, legitimately great Hollywood actor. And so what happens is when you're in the past, we see Wyatt Russell being the young character. And when we go to the present, we see Kurt Russell being the same character, but older. It's like a father-son thing. And like it totally works because Wyatt looks so much like his dad that you're like, yeah, okay, that is kind of what I think he would look like. And they don't have to CGI it out or anything. They just like have the father and son thing happening. What a fucking idea. What a cool trick they've done there. I like that a lot. But the writing is really strong. Cast is pretty good. There's a couple people in the cast I don't really care for that much, but overall it's really good. And we get to see what it's like to be a human scientist kind of dealing in a world where these giant monsters are stomping around and causing chaos. It's really interesting, pretty compelling. They spend a lot of time on character building, which is good. And it's just been a great watch. The wife and I have really enjoyed it quite a bit. So Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, they're on season 2 on Apple right now. We're in season 2 right now. But that's great stuff. So watch that. Watch the first Godzilla. Watch the first King Kong. And that's some good creature feature for a weekend or an afternoon if you like. So that's good stuff. All right, folks, that is the show. Before the closing music, we'd love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media. But most important of all, please recommend the show to your friends because nothing beats good old word of mouth. And as always, we'd like to get your questions and comments You can hit me up directly, SoVideoGamesPodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's my name, BradGallaway. All A's, no O's. You can also find me in the So Video Games Discord, which is totally free of charge to join. Just drop me a line through any of the channels I just mentioned. Email, Instagram, Blue Sky. Leave me a comment over at GameCritics.com. Whatever. Let me know that you're interested, and we'll get you on board to continue the conversation. Lots of good folks in the Discord. It's really been popping lately. It's been good stuff. If you like this show, if you like GameCritics.com, join the Discord, chat it up. We'd love to have you aboard. And finally, if you want to help support this show and support sister site GameCritics.com, there's costs associated with running a podcast, running a website, etc., etc. If you like what we do, if you like what I do, if you want more of this, if you want it to keep going, please go over to patreon.com/the So Video Games Podcast. Every single dollar helps, and a euro helps that much more. Folks, that is going to do it for this show. That's going to do it for episode 481. Thank you so much for joining me here on the So Video Games Podcast, and I'll see you next week.